Hi and welcome to my realistic morning routine as mum of a severely disabled child and mum of 3 boys all together. My boys are aged 14, 11 and 4. My 11-year-old son is called George. George is profoundly disabled and has complex medical needs. My morning routine is therefore not your standard morning routine because of George's needs. There's a lot more going on with him in the morning, things that need to be done to care for him, than there are for a child of normal development. As I've said a lot on most of my videos, my life is very different now from how it used to be. George is severely disabled, and when this happened, when he was a baby, I turned to God in difficult circumstances and had a big conversion in my faith. I was lukewarm previously. Here's George fast asleep at the moment, wearing his non-invasive ventilation mask, which I will tell you more about later. He wears this overnight when he's asleep. So anyway, the day for me usually starts off first thing with prayer time while all the boys are still asleep. I try and wake up early in the morning when it's quiet to have prayer time. The first thing I do in the morning. It's time alone with God in silence. It's about giving the day to God and making it His. I feel like it charges me up for the day. It makes the day go better, whatever happens in it. It doesn't mean challenges or bad things don't happen, but you are more aware of God's presence and grace through everything that unfolds in the day. You're just more equipped to deal with challenges. We've had many challenges over the years with a severely disabled son, and this really helps me prepare to take on the day. It's about surrendering this difficult path I'm on to the Lord, one step at a time, one day at a time. It's a constant handing over to Him of the emotional burden and the physical challenges of caring for a disabled son. I'm not always perfect at waking up for prayer time. I'm much better than I used to be though. It's a discipline I've had to work at and I'm still working at. Sometimes I struggle with staying awake. I want to fall back to sleep. I stay in bed to pray. The reason for this is if I get out of bed and leave the bedroom and go downstairs, I'd risk waking someone up. And for me, it's best just to pray straight away and not be distracted by seeing someone else. It's time for just me and God. It's very precious time. We all need it. So I have to make sure I have what I need for it next to the bed so I don't have to get up. That's usually my Bible and a notebook and pen. For a very long time, it wasn't possible at all for me to have this morning prayer time. I used to sleep in George's room next to him and would be up in the night monitoring him. It was exhausting, as well as looking after the other children. We now have more help at home, so I'm able to sleep in my own bed again. At the moment, I'm reading through all the letters of St. Paul. I've been doing this for some time as there's such a lot. I felt led there. I might just take one passage each day. I sometimes meditate on the same one for several days. I also often read the daily mass readings for that day online on my phone, although I've learned I mustn't get distracted by my phone and be tempted to start looking on WhatsApp, or else I'll lose concentration and totally get out of the flow of my prayer time. I always try to sit and listen to what God is saying, at least to take the time to tune in at the start of the day. I also write down anything on my mind, on my heart, what I feel God may be saying to me for that day, drawing my attention to. Sometimes he reminds me of important things I need to do in the day, whether that's praying for someone, texting them, or going to see them. Instructions for the day. I do sometimes pray for specific intentions during this time if I feel led that way, but not always. I do really try to make this time more about listening and praising God in silent prayer. I tend to do more intercessory prayer later in the day. I love the Rosary, but that's usually more of an evening or daytime prayer for me rather than first thing in the morning. After prayer time is time to get up and out of bed. After getting dressed and washed, I then need to make sure the children are awake and going downstairs for breakfast and getting ready for school. I also need to go downstairs and see how George is, catch up with his night carer and find out how his night has been. So we're heading into George's room now. George is now awake and has already been washed and dressed in his school uniform by his night carer. George has to be monitored all night, and so there is a carer in here all night with him doing a waking night. He has seizures when he's asleep, and the respiratory issues are more problematic at night when he's asleep. The ventilation mask he was wearing earlier when asleep has been taken off now he's awake. It helps pump air into his lungs to keep him breathing effectively when asleep. To the right is the blue oxygen machine that pumps oxygen all night through the ventilation machine. George is currently wearing nasal prongs to have oxygen as he wakes up. Over here is a nebulizer machine and mask. The night carer administers George's early medications very early morning, about 5:30 a.m, including anti-seizure medication. Then they do 2 lots of nebulizers using this machine. This is George's spine brace, which he wears over his school shirt. He needs this for support as he has severe scoliosis. The brace allows him to sit up straighter and be more supported in the wheelchair. Without it, he cannot tolerate the wheelchair very well at all, so it's very important. Over here is his suction machine. This is also super important. George struggles to clear secretions that build up in his chest, and so the carer gives him some chest physio to help clear them, then lots of suctioning with this machine to help keep him clear. Then to the right of that is the feeding pump. George is fully tube fed with special milk which has everything he needs in it. He has a nasogastric tube at the moment. George is having his first feed of the day at the moment. The feeding pump pumps the milk into the tube. These are called yankers, and these are called long catheters. These are used with the suction machine. George also has a sleep system set up in his bed to support him when lying down. This is basically some supports put in place under his sheets either side of his body to support his body and try to keep his spine as straight as possible. We have pads down here. George obviously needs changing in the morning. And a saturations monitor over here. This monitors George's oxygen levels and heart rate. They need to be monitored all night as well. Here is a bottle of George's milk. We've also got another bottle and feeding set here which are needed to give George his feed. And we've got water over here which is given to George through his tube using a syringe. We have other equipment here too, such as protective tape to put on George's face when he's wearing the ventilation mask, and pH testing strips to test the feeding tube is in the right place before feeding to check it's definitely in his stomach. We've got plenty of syringes over here too for water and medications. All of George's medications are given through the tube as well, apart from those given through the nebulizer. Over here we've got PPE for George's carers, gloves and face mask, and over there in the corner is a huge backup oxygen canister. If there's a power cut and our oxygen machine that plugs into the mains is not usable, we use that canister. In this unit here we have some of George's medications, and to the right we have various toiletries and creams. Then underneath we have flannels and muslin cloths to manage dribbling, as well as clothes underneath. Now over here is a mobile hoist that will be used shortly to hoist George out of bed and into his wheelchair ready for school. That's once his feed has finished and has had a bit of time to go down as well. Now I'm going to show you all the things that have to go with George to school. He has lots of things to take with him. So here is his school bag. His communication book goes in here. He cannot talk, so I write any information in here the teachers might need to know each morning, and they write a summary of how George's day has been for me to see when he gets home. This is a mobile SATS monitor and spare batteries, as his oxygen levels and heart rate need to be monitored throughout the day. Some spare school uniform, some syringes and any other equipment we might need for school. Here is George's wheelchair. On the back of this we have the feeding pump so we can have a lunchtime feed at school. There's a bottle of milk inside, all set up and ready to go. Here's a mobile oxygen canister with nasal prongs so he can be administered oxygen if needed on the way to school. The mobile suction machine I showed you earlier also goes on the back of his wheelchair to school. As you can see, George has now been hoisted into his chair by the carers. We have a half-hour overlap period in the morning when the night carer and day carer are both here. During that time they hoist George into his wheelchair and finish getting him ready for school. George has already had a face and body wash. He really enjoys that and it helps him wake up. Once he's in the chair, the carers also need to do his oral care. This is very important, even though George does not eat solid foods. His mouth and teeth need to be cleaned properly. Then George has his hair brushed. Looking lovely, George, and ready to go to school. You can see George is now wearing his spine brace as well. George's car is now here, so George is going out of the front door and down the ramp. George gets collected for school by special school transport in a wheelchair accessible vehicle, and the day carer goes with him and stays with him all day at school to monitor his medical needs. While all this is going on, the other boys need to have their breakfast too and get ready for school. We've not always had this much help at home for George. It's only been over the past year that we've had carers. Up until then, we did it all ourselves. It was so difficult and has become harder as George has got bigger. Many aspects of his condition have deteriorated and medical needs have got greater. It was actually impossible to cope by the end. Impossible to juggle the needs of all three boys at once. I look back now and wonder how on earth did we do it. I'm very grateful to God for all the help we now have. I have more time to spend with all of them now. Then it's time for them to go off to school for the day too. Doing the school run for the other boys seems so straightforward. I definitely don't take it for granted. When the school run is done and I come home, it's time for a cup of tea and to catch up on any prayer time I might have missed earlier, if it wasn't successful first thing on waking up for any reason. I used to really struggle to find time for any prayer time for a long time. Things were so busy, so frantic. We had no carers. I used to take George to school. We would get in late. I'd often have to pick him up early, so it took up all the day basically. Things are so different now. I actually have time to breathe, and I'm very grateful for that. I also check emails during this time and often make a to-do list for the day. There's a lot of things to keep on top of for George, such as prescription medications, as well as managing all his hospital and therapy appointments and keeping a check on his medical equipment. I deal with this now and also throughout the day. If George has a medical appointment, and he has a lot of those, then I will take him along to that, along with the day carer who comes with us. He's got no appointments today though. There is a lot of laundry to do for a family of 5, but so much more for a child who is severely disabled like George, bless him. I have to do a lot of laundry each day to keep on top of it. It feels like one wash goes on, then it's straight away time for the next one. We go through a lot of towels and sheets and clothing. There are many soiled clothes and sheets to deal with every single day. They often need rinsing first and then putting on a hot wash. I try and go to daily Mass when I can. I really find that the grace we receive at Mass in the Eucharist is vital for service, for our vocations. That is what God is calling us to do in life, and each and every day we wake up. Life can be very tricky, and you really need to rely on His grace to do it. We all do. That's how I feel in what God has called me to as a mother and carer. There are difficult days, and I definitely need Him every single day. Well, that is the end of the video. Obviously, as the day goes on, there are other things going on, but that's the end of the video today. I'll try and do a day in the life video one of these days to show you the rest of the day, but I hope that has been interesting for you to see. And I hope it's been a blessing and an encouragement. So thank you so much for joining me today. Please do share and like the video. Share it with anyone who comes to mind when you're watching, who you think might like to see it. I pray that you have a really blessed day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. So until then, God bless. Bye.